نادي عليا مظهر العجائب.
Okay, then in that case, we'll get started. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله على سيدنا مولانا حبيب الله العالمين بالقاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين ولعنة الله على القوم الظالمين من الآن إلى يوم الدين. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah again to everyone. Inshallah, you're all doing well. It's emotional. We're coming towards, like, it's not the last one today, but we're coming closer and closer to the end of the book club. And I really, we're really enjoying this journey, alhamdulillah. So today's the 8th of the book clubs. And it's been a real pleasure for me to get this far with all of you, alhamdulillah. And we are in a special week because it's the week of Hajj. And that's why, if you recall, your mission was related to Hajj, which we'll go through in a second. And then, of course, we've got some 5 more sayings of Nahjal Balagha from the Imam, in which we can start to think about what the Imam is trying to teach us in his short sayings. In any case, before all of that, I want to check in with everyone. Now, normally I go through the register top down. Today, bottom up. So first in the bottom with M, we have Sister Masma. Masma, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Assalamu alaikum. I just realized that I forgot the mission.
Masma, it's fine. Don't worry. You can listen to other people's points there, okay?
Yep.
Are you keeping well?
Yep. The school has closed. Oh yeah. Also forgot it. And the school has closed, and so I'm at home, and I'm in a Google Classroom, and I'm getting lots of assignments per day.
Well, good luck with them. There's no assignment you're gonna get that you can't do. You know that, right?
Yep.
Yep. If you've not done it, I'm gonna guess Asad's not done it either. So Asad, Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Am I right?
Yeah, I haven't done it. I forgot about it. I'm a little bit too busy during the week, actually.
I understand, but are you keeping healthy and are you keeping well?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like, you're busy, but you're making sure you're getting your meals and your sleep and that kind of thing.
Yeah. Thursday, last week, I have a trip.
Okay.
To a place called RHS Wisley. It's apparently a science place full of plants. Like, there's plants everywhere, even indoors.
Wow, that sounds like a very healthy place to grow. MashaAllah. Very good. How's your braces, by the way? Are they okay?
Oh yeah, they're doing well. In fact, I can hardly, I've basically ignored them. I haven't felt them pain in the last 3 days.
Nice. Very nice. Going down upwards again, next is Shazeb. Shazeb, assalamu alaikum, bro. How you doing?
Walaikum salam. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm keeping well. Just like I was asking everyone, is everything okay with you? You keeping healthy and all of that?
Yeah, I'm all good.
Nice one, bro. I was looking for you on PS4. Did you play?
No, I played PC.
I was typing your name to see if there might be like just bump into your FIFA or something, but fine. That's okay. And the other thing I was asking everyone was, I wanted to ask everyone was, are you keeping safe in the heat and all of that stuff? So Shazeb, were you making sure you're, I don't know, wearing a cap and cream and all that?
Yeah.
Nice one. Although it's hot where you are, yeah?
Yeah, very hot.
Yeah, it's hot in this room, to be honest, but fine. That's good. Very good to check in with you, my dear brother. Khadija, assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam. How are you?
I'm warm, but good. I'm good. How are you keeping?
I'm well, thank you.
What is the latest going on in your life? What's happening?
Well, I think I might have told you on Sunday, but I finished school on Friday. So now I'm going to move on to year 7 in my new school, inshallah.
Congratulations, the new school, mashallah. And the other thing was, you had like a party or something on the weekend or something?
Yeah.
It was all okay?
Yeah.
Amazing. Well, since I've checked in with you, I better check in with your sister, Amina. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.
How are you keeping?
Yeah, I'm very good. How are you?
Alhamdulillah. I'm also keeping well. I'm keeping, I'm good. I'm good. Anything cool happening since I last spoke to you? Anything interesting? Is everything keeping okay?
Nothing much. The heat's just quite unbearable. So
yeah, I know. But good, but good. My sister sent salam, by the way, to you. I don't know how she knows you, but she said salam to you. So should I say salam back to her? You don't have. You probably should.
Well, I'll say walaikum assalam back to her.
Okay, I'll tell alaikum salam. Thank you, Amina. Let me see. So going up there, we've got Fazil. Salam alaikum again, Fazil. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing good, alhamdulillah. How are you?
I'm doing good. Now, before the guys who joined later, I was telling Fazil, I need you to say salam to your respected father from me. I need you. And every week he's like, yeah, I mean, I'll do it. And then like, oh, I said to my granddad, not my dad. But this time, Fazil, you've got some good news for the group. What's the good news?
I have said it to my dad as well now.
Alhamdulillah. I feel like we can end the book club in peace now. I have got what I came to accomplish. Alhamdulillah. Fazil, you have grown as a human being in following this instruction. I'm chuffed. How is your father? He's good?
Yes, he's good.
Okay. Now you have to say I miss him. Okay?
Okay.
Fine. Good. Ashal, assalamu alaikum, bro. Again, how you doing?
Walaikum salam. How are you?
I'm good. I'm gonna see you soon, inshallah. What is the best thing about Bradford that I've got to see when I come up there? What is it?
So what in terms of mean like good, like in the Imam Burger, like what do you mean by
Just
that?
in general, I mean, I'm coming up there. I hope sometime you show me around or something, or I don't know, have a meal or something. But what do I need to see or do in Bradford while I'm there? Sure ends. Tell me.
So near Bradford, there's like obviously in the mosque. You have to always like wear. I think you have to always wear masks because I have to be aware of the COVID restrictions. And near the mosque, there's like, I don't know if you call it a town, but there's like loads of like shops and places near them. If you stop by, then you could try anything.
Check out the shops. I mean, when I asked you what is there to do, and you said you can wear a mask in the center, that's not very exciting. But shops.
No, because like there's not really nothing to do in the mosque anymore, isn't there? All you do like. Because in the mosque, all we do is so Malana reads us Majlis.
Yeah.
And then after Majlis, we read Namaz. Actually, no, we eat and then we read Namaz. And then obviously we have to be out of the mosque, I think, by about 10 o'clock. No, not 10 o'clock, sorry, about 11, half 10. Well,
I'm looking forward to eating and then praying namaz. I'm looking forward to that, inshallah, in the center. So that's good. Thank you for getting me ready for it. Inshallah, assalamu alaikum. Inshallah, I think he's just joining or are you there, bro? Inshallah, can you unmute just so I know you're there?
Yeah.
Oh, you're there. How are you doing, bro? You okay?
Yeah.
Thank you for joining the book club. Yeah, it's good to have you here. Alhamdulillah. Thank you so much. And by the way, you're keeping healthy and everything's okay, and you know you're free and happy and everything.
Yeah.
All right, very good. Okay, let's go to the book club today for Nahjal Balagha. Now, if you guys remember, I did set a mission for all of you from last week. Some of you weren't able to do it, and that's fine. We've all got things to do, and sometimes you don't make time. For those of you who do remember, the mission was somehow related to Hajj. Who remembers what it was? What was the question I asked everyone? Amna, I see your hand go straight up. Why don't you kick us off? What was the mission?
It's why Hajj is wajib and not mustahab.
Great. Thank you so much. That is the question. Why we have so many amazing mustahabat and recommended actions, but not everything is wajib, obligatory, where you have to do it if you fulfill the conditions. Hajj is one of those things. In fact, it's in the Furu' ad-Din as well. It's one of the branches of the religion, which is incumbent upon all of us, again, if we fulfill the conditions and once we do. So the question is, why is there something so special in this deed? Allah made it wajib rather than just mustahab like other actions. If you had a chance to think about this, please raise your hand in the chat just so I know and I can come to you. So I see a hand raised. Did anyone else also have a chance to think about that? I see another, alhamdulillah. Good. Okay, and if I was speaking, you have an idea of why you think it might have been wajib and not mustahab, and you think about it now while we're talking, you can always feel free to jump in later. But first, go to those who had a chance to do the mission. Fazil, why don't you go first? What was your thoughts about why you think Allah Azza wa Jal made it wajib to do Hajj?
Because when all of the people in all the other countries come in one place in the house of God, all of the people can discuss all the problems and issues. You get to know each other more, and you get to know all of the problems and what's going on in their country.
Yeah, a very good point. Once
And
you
also,
go ahead.
It shows the equality because you're just wearing two white clothes. That's it. So it just shows that you're all united. You're all equal. It's not. You don't know who, if someone's rich, if someone is poor, anything like that.
Yeah. And this idea that we are all the same and that we are all going back to Allah and that we are going on this pilgrimage, Allah really likes this idea to the extent where maybe He made it wajib because He wants to keep reminding you or give you that chance to remember what you actually are, which is you belong to Him and you're going back to Him and you're from Him, like we mentioned. And there's no difference between me and you, like we're all the same. So that's a really good reminder, Fazil. Thank you. Amina, you handed up first, so I feel like I should have gone to you first. When you were thinking about this topic, what point struck out to you about why Hajj might be wajib, do you think?
So we know that Allah is very just, so I think He's made it compulsory to give us a chance to start afresh, because if it was mustahab, most people wouldn't have really taken the advantage of this amazing gift. And so in a way, I think you can relate Hajj to our death, which people might dread or fear for. But when we wear, for example, the ihram, it's like wearing the kafan and going in the presence of Allah, which is a very great thing. And then Arafah, when people gather from all over the world, it's like the Day of Judgment. But the difference between going on Hajj and actually dying is that when someone dies, they can't actually come back to this world and change the mistakes that they might have wanted to. But coming back from Hajj, we can actually be a different person. And I think it's wajib because everyone should have the chance to start afresh. And as I said, Allah is just, so He wants us to be able to make this change for ourselves.
A very beautiful addition to that. And Allah doesn't want us to ever forget this justice that He has and the chance that we have to return to Him. So that's why it's obligatory, because there's no option when it comes to the mercy of God. It's there for you. It's there for you. It's always going to be there for you. And this kind of reminder kind of helps give you that certainty, give you that certainty that you have. Good. It's a really good point, Amina. Khadija, what about you? What do you think? Why do you think that Hajj is wajib based on these points and your own ideas?
So as Fazil said, it displays everyone's unity and nobody's different from each other. And as well as that, it's not for Allah's benefit, it's for our own benefit. Because doing Hajj, again, shows that we are the same as everyone else and shows our humility.
Mm-hmm.
And so it then gives us lots and lots of blessings.
Yeah.
And which will help us in our later life.
Very good ending. There's a life to come after this, and if Hajj is the benefit of Hajj is to be part of it to be tasted in the afterlife, it's really important that you get what you need from this dunya before you move on to the akhirah, before you move on to the next world. And if that means getting the reward of Hajj or the benefit of the mercy of God for Hajj or all your sins forgiven at Hajj, like we mentioned, or the reminder that we're all equal, like we need those things to go to the next world. I mean, that's why it's wajib. So yeah, thank you for linking those points together. That was very helpful to add into the mix. Fazil, did you want to add something else about this or about something else completely?
Something about Hajj, but from someone else.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So it's a quote from Malcolm X. She was American, she was black, and she was a convert.
Malcolm X is a he.
Okay. My pilgrimage broadened my scope. It blessed me with new insight. In 2 weeks in the Holy Land, I saw that I had never seen in 39 years here in America. I saw all races, all colors, blue-eyed blondes to black-skinned Africans, in true brotherhood and in unity. It was in the holy world that my attitude was changed. by what I experienced there and by what I witnessed there in terms of brotherhood. Not just brotherhood towards me, but brotherhood between all men of all nationalities and complexions who were there. Malcolm X autobiography.
And what do you learn from Malcolm X speaking about Hajj like that? What do you learn from that?
I learned that Hajj is a very good blessing from Allah.
Definitely. Ahsan, thank you so much, Fazil. And just like that, Hajj had a very transformational effect on Malcolm X in his own life. He changed a lot by becoming Muslim. It can have that effect of change on any of us, that when we go to Hajj, we become different. And in fact, we're told that when you leave Hajj, one of the reasons why you're supposed to leave and go back home, or why you shave your head if you're a man, or why it's haram for you to leave Arafah, not believing your sins have been forgiven, for example. These are reminders to say that you are not the same anymore. You have to change. You can go back knowing that you're a different person. And that reminder, like we mentioned, can manifest in different ways. One example is a man like Malcolm X who might change his whole life approach because of Hajj. Another might be that if you go to Hajj committing a certain sin or a deed you're not happy with, you come back and you say, I'm not going to do it again because Allah has forgiven whatever I've done before. And from this moment onwards, I'm going to return and reply to Allah with the kind of version of myself He wants me to be. It's a great reminder. And I hope that we can all take that on board. Definitely. Asad, anything you'd like to add about Hajj?
I didn't do the mission, but it's just something I was thinking about on the spot actually. So basically, like when you have a certain level of devotion to somebody or something, for example, remember the Black Lives Matter movement? When you have a certain devotion, you're driven to do something way bigger for the sake of that, thing. So if you're, for example, fighting for black rights, you might do something bigger than just going on social media. You might go in protests against the people who have done bad towards the blacks, for example. But you have a certain devotion towards Allah, so that might be a reason you might want to go to Hajj.
Yeah, and you got it right. You go to Hajj to have that connection to Allah, and it's from that connection that you then understand how to act when it comes to other people. Like that's the order that we do it. So you start off with going to Allah and that pilgrimage, and then it's from that what you learn in that pilgrimage that you now start to change your life and treat people better and be kinder and all of those things, So well done. I think you're getting a nice meal as well. So inshallah, I hope you enjoy it. Great point. Abdullah, you came late, but assalamu alaikum. How are you, by the way? Are you keeping well?
Wa alaikum salam. I'm fine. Thank you.
Anything that you wanted to add about Hajj and how it can be, why you might think it's wajib, why Allah prioritizes it so much?
I think it's because there's so many like good things and so many important things that have happened. Like, it has like such like a deep meaning that you do it so that like you mentioned that you don't have any sin and that you've like learned in such like a good and like deeply moving like place, and that you're doing something like so good that you have like a sense of like goodness that you're doing something good and you're going to change after an amazing experience. Maybe that's why.
So what you mean is if you aren't sure what the right thing is, or you're not sure what goodness is, you can be reminded or taught, or how does Hajj kind of help that, do you think?
I think it does that because then you get time to like realize about what you've done, like if you know like what it's about. So it's like repenting and about doing things that you have to do Hajj. When you have like time to think about what bad you have done, that you should like look for the right path.
Very good point. And even if we're not at Hajj, we can still do that point about reflecting on ourselves here where we are, because tomorrow's day of Arafah, and the day of Arafah, I think you're all in the UK, is tomorrow, is when you can read the dua of Imam al-Hussein or Imam Sajjad if you prefer, the dua of Arafah, and you can contemplate and think when you read that dua about yourself, about your reality, who you are and where you're going. And especially advisable to do after the time of Dhuhr, and to be outside if you can. I know it's really warm, but try to read that dua, or even read part of it, not even all of it because it's a long dua, and just think of the small parts that you have read. It can be very helpful, and I recommend it to all of you. About Hajj, So Imam Ali also speaks about Hajj in the first sermon. After he's spoken about the other points we mentioned about angels and the creation of human being and this universe, he says that Allah made Hajj wajib on you. It is a house which he has destined to be a place of change and veneration, that you respect and prayer for all human beings. People gather around it to satisfy their faith in the same way that animals gather around a watering place when they are thirsty, or the way that pigeons fly towards a place of safety when they are in danger. Yani that's what the Kaaba should be for you at Hajj. It's the water when you're thirsty. It's the place of safety when you're flying to there and going tawaf from there. Imam continues, people collect at this house their hope and peace of mind, and they find a place of refuge from their sins and vices. So glory be to Allah who made Hajj an institution which you can use to judge your submission towards Him and His might, and is a sign of your belief and respect to His greatness. Meaning that Hajj, if you go to it, that's a place you can really understand, am I really a person of faith? You can check yourself by your Hajj, by your pilgrimage. And simply by your submission, you can judge yourself and see that, am I truly submitted to Allah when I bow to the Kaaba? How do I feel? Continues. So of the human beings, he selected those people who obey his commands and testify his orders and respect the prophets, and they stand before them. So these are the people who Imam says, when they go around the Kaaba, they look like angels flying around the throne of God. Allah's not got a physical throne, but he has lots of creations which remind us of him, like the Kaaba. And the ones who go and walk around the Kaaba with true faith and who testify Allah's orders and believe in the prophets, they are like angels, the Imam says. And they are like, the Imam says, in a divine market where they are bargaining for heavenly benefits and are trying to happily face comfort towards the promised land of forgiveness and blessing. So they're going to Hajj, it's like they're going for business, they're trying to buy something. And what they're buying and the one they're buying from is the same thing. It's Allah. And they're prepared to go to Hajj to do a transaction, a sale. Just like me and you go to shops and want to buy something really specific, these people go to Hajj to buy something very lofty and great. And that is meeting with Allah. And so Imam continues and ends by saying, so glory be to Allah who made this house an emblem for Islam, a place where people can find rest and peace and hope. And he made Hajj wajib and his pilgrimage wajib upon you. For he says, for people who are rich and those who can afford it, it is a duty laid down by God. And those who don't pay attention to this divine command, Allah does not care for their opinion anymore and is far above the help and support of his creatures. Meaning, if you can do Hajj and you know it's wajib on you and you choose not to, you are making it as if you don't care what Allah thinks about you. You're allowing yourself to be in that position. But if you do care and if it's important to you and you go, this is why it's wajib on you, because it's a place where you get rest and hope. And if you fulfill the conditions, by rich we mean you have enough money to go to Hajj, you can afford it. Then at that moment, Imam says, go to Hajj. It's upon you. So that is the Imam Ali's approach in Sermon 1 of Nahjal Balagha about why we go to Hajj. Any questions about his explanation or any comments about what he says? Okay, so now when you see the pictures of people at Hajj or in these places, think of this description of animals gathering around a watering place, or angels doing tawaf, or birds flying to a nest of safety. That's the way the Imam wants us to think about Hajj. All right, then let us now move to looking at some sayings of Nahjal Balagha as we finish. So I finish, meaning this is the last thing that we'll do. And we'll journey into the sayings of the Imam, week 8, inshallah. As with always, I can't always see your hang on. Can someone just like say something in the chat so I will be able to see it? Like anything, nothing too bad.
I have written something in the chat. Can you see it?
Not yet. Write something else, please.
Okay.
I hope it's something nice. I need to see so that I can.
Did you see a message from anyone?
I can't see anyone's message on the chat, and I need to so I can see you guys during the thing. Ah, there we go. I see it. Thank you. I see some highs and hellos. Okay, that's what I was waiting for. You think after 8 weeks I would get this right, but it still takes me a little bit of time. Right, you guys ready?
Yep.
Basically, I'm ready. All right, let's go to the first saying of Hajj Balagha. Do you like the hot weather or the cold weather? What do we think? Go ahead, Abdullah.
Both, because
Both.
both because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala made seasons for a reason. That's to make us not like make us stick with one thing. So it'll be like really boring, and that you won't. I mean, like if it's like always hot, then you'll get like heat stroke or something. If it's always cold, you might get like frostbite. So I think both, because they're both made for a reason, to like swap so that you don't get anything bad from them or have one season too long.
Good. So if you believe in a creator, there's a function for those things, and like you said, that the length of time is important. Like there's a reason why God has implemented them. So you like both because that reason. I get it. I get it. Masma, which one do you like more, or is it both for you?
Sorry, I just like swallowed something too quickly. So it depends like what time, like, you know, the year it is, because if it's midsummer and you're in the warm, then you'll want to be cold. You won't want to be that warm, because I mean, if the sun is beaming down on you, then you'll definitely want to like have some shade or something. But if it's freezing cold, then you'll definitely want some warmth. So I think it depends. And well, to be honest, I kind of prefer windy weather.
So you prefer windy weather?
I mean, yeah, just like neither of them, just, you know, in between.
Nice. Khadija, what would you like to add? What do you like more?
I think again, I would want both, because the hot weather makes the flowers grow and makes them strong because of the sun. But then again, the winter, I'm not really sure what winter does, but it's still an important part of the cycle of the earth.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that Allah made two types of weathers, because he wants to show us both, and I'm not really sure how to explain it, but we need both.
Yeah, so because you see value in both of them, you want to recognize the value, and it's easy to see, I guess, in the summer, but not as easy in the winter. But you believe it's there, like because there's a cycle. There was some purpose, right, to the winter. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, see, I kind of get what you meant. I understand. Ashal, what about you? You're up north, probably quite cold there. Maybe not right now. What do you like more?
The hot, as you like just said, because usually it's very cold, but when it's hot, it's like a beautiful day, because like I get to play out with my friends a lot, and like when it's cold, it's like very, you can't do anything, you know, you can't like go outside, you have to like, you don't have to, but it's like very wet and you're like, you maybe stink.
You know, it kind of affects what you can and can't do with the weather, doesn't it? You know, where you're allowed to go and things like that. And you get more freedom in the summer. That's a good point. Fazil, do you agree?
Yep, I agree.
Anything you want to add about your favorite?
I think it's both, because number one, Allah has created the earth and the seasons. And number two, in summer you get warmth, and in winter you get fun because of the snow.
So you need
I really
summers.
like both of the seasons, and winter for fun, and summer for the warmth.
What a group of well-adjusted and well-rounded young members of society you guys are, pointing the good in both seasons. I appreciate that. Anyone else want to add something who's not spoken yet, who wants to add something before we move on? Okay, so The Imam, when thinking about this topic, gives us some advice. He says, guard against the cold, because in its seasonal beginnings, and welcome it towards its end, because it affects bodies in the same way as it affects plants. So that's something that Khadija, that you were saying. And then he continues and says, in the beginning, it destroys them, but in the end, it gives them fresh leaves. So in the same way that with plants, they might suffer during the winter, or their plants might be destroyed, or their leaves might be disintegrated. In the place of those things, it becomes, there are new leaves which grow. And that's because in the season, they need some growth. And the function of the cold then is to bring those things towards an end. Imam says the same thing with your bodies. Sometimes in the winters, we might get cold. We might get, when you get a little bit feeling not that great, but that means that gives you a chance to build up, to not exert as much energy, for example, or to keep yourself strong, so that when the summer comes, you can go, you can play, you can grow. And in life, when we go through periods of growth, we are going to go through ups and downs. Sometimes you're going to find yourself learning so much, becoming so much, developing and growing into a new person at a very rapid rate, especially in the early years when you're growing up. And sometimes when you really want something, you want to make progress, it might be a little bit slower. When it's slower, there's a chance for you to feel frustrated, in the same way that when it's the winter and you want to go out and play, you just can't because it's wet and rainy. Well, this is where you trust in Allah Azza wa Jal, because it's a process. Just like growth of a plant is a process, growth of the human being is a process just like that. And just like when it's cold, you guard against the cold weather. In your life, when you're feeling that you're going through a period of winter in yourself, not in the world, just inside of yourself, that's when you guard against it, because you know that something is coming. There is some growth happening. And as we're told, it's darkest before the dawn, right? So the cold gets really cold until it starts to get a little bit warmer, until we have what we have now, which is quite nice warm weather. And you have to endure the winter in order to enjoy the summer. Okay? So I guess the advice there to all of you is, when it's winter, endure. When it's summer, enjoy. Next saying, Ali says, I am defining Islam as no one has ever defined before me. Islam is something. What one word summarizes what you think Islam is that the Imam might have used? Asad, what do you think? Your hand is raised. If you didn't have anything, that's fine. So that's why I'm coming to you. Masma, help your brother out. Islam is, what do you think?
Well, I think it will be something like truth, because Islam, well,
That's a really lovely word.
I mean,
That's a really lovely word.
I don't know. I mean, Islam is the truth, but I mean that isn't one word. So I think that he would say something like Islam is. I just don't know how to explain it. I know that it'll be something like, that represents truth and purity, but I just, truth doesn't fit exactly in that sentence because of the grammar.
But I like that's where you went. I like the way, because there's something about Islam which is just the truth, right? It's not about something separate. It's about just believing in what exists, what's already around you, and doing what is right, doing what is true. So I like that your mind went there, and I appreciate it a lot. It shows that you understand one of the most important realizations, which is this deen is haqq. It's just truth. So good.
Thank
Good.
you.
Khatija?
Again, I think it would be something that shows that we are strong in a way, so maybe power or courage, because Islam is those things, and there are very few words that you like, one or two words that could be used to describe Islam negatively, because everything in Islam is picked very carefully, and it's not there to give power to Allah, it's there to give power to us.
A really great independent thought. I like that. It's very rare for it to be negative. It's more likely something to do with activity or growth or positivity or movement, like you mentioned, power or strength, because that's a feeling that we get as Muslims. This religion gives us a lot of motivation. So I get why that's the first thing you're looking at. And in fact, in the answer, I think you'll see something similar to that, Khadija. So let's see. Fazil, what do you think? If Imam is to describe Islam as one thing, what words do you think he might be using?
I think it would be complete, because on Eid al-Qadir, the angel came down to Prophet Muhammad and said that on this day, on Eid al-Qadir, Islam has been complete. That's why I think I'm defining Islam as no one has ever defined before me. Islam is complete.
I love that. MashaAllah. That's a lovely point. It's a lovely point. So if it's the truth or its strength, wherever it is, it's complete. Allah has promised this in the wilayat of Imam Ali alayhi salam. MashaAllah, Fazil, a great point. Abdullah, how would you add? What word do you think the Imam might be using here?
I think on both sides, as Fazil and other people have stated that Islam is complete and positive, stuff like that. But before the imams came, then there were like a lot of people who were like against like Islam,
Yeah.
like tried to destroy it. So it could be negative or positive in that case.
So if Imam's referring directly to those people, you think you might be teaching them a lesson that Islam's not what you thought it was, for example?
Yeah.
I hear you. And that might be why he's saying no one's ever defined it as like this before, because no one's gone through the challenges the Imam has gone through before. I do hear you. I do hear you. Amina, why don't you close this off? What do you think the Imam might be referring to in this point?
I think he could have said Islam is freedom, because he's saying it's never been defined like this before. Although you definitely see some things as very like restrictive, but in a way it can free us, and the feeling of having trust in Allah is very freeing. So I think that's something he would have said.
What a lovely point. What a lovely point. And again, it shows your approach to Islam as being one which is very healthy. Let's see what it is. Let's see what it is. And thank you. That was actually a nice point to end on as well. Freedom. Yeah, mashallah. I am defining Islam as no one defined before. Islam is submission. And submission, he continues to explain what he means by that. Submission, when you submit to something, is conviction. That means when you truly, truly believe in something. And conviction is affirmation. Affirmation is when you accept something is true, right? So that's similar to what you guys said. And conviction is having strength in something. So it's also similar to what you said, Khadija. And affirmation is acknowledgement. Acknowledgement here means to acknowledge what exists around you, what is true. And acknowledgement is to follow rules. And by rules, we mean the rules which Allah has given to us to follow, to obey. Meaning it's to acknowledgement, it's you're free and you choose to follow what Allah wants you to do, what is wajib, what is haram. And following rules is action. So for the Imam, Islam begins with submission but ends in actually doing something and taking action, in moving and in growing. And that requires strength and freedom. It requires one to to obey Allah as the truth. And interestingly, this whole system is complete. It begins with submission, ends with action. There's nothing else left outside of it. So you start by submitting and accepting Allah, la ilaha illallah, I accept there's no deity except worship, nothing, no God except you, God. And then you build that yaqeen, that certainty, that conviction in what you just said. And then you believe it. You affirm it by saying, yes, I accept Allah and his prophets and his book and his Imam. Jannat is real, the angels are real. You start going through acknowledging what exists around you. And that acknowledgement means now you're just being an honest person. You're just receiving what's happening around you. You're not making anything up. You're not going away from the truth. You're just acknowledging what's happening. And the more you acknowledge, you realize that there's some duties which are upon me and you. And those duties come in the form of go to Hajj, pray, give to the poor, give charity, defend your religion, these types of things. And if you believe those things, you have to do them. You have to take action. And for Imam Ali alayhi salam, Islam is a deen of action, where when you go into sajda, when you prostrate in submission, when you rise with motivation to do something for the sake of God. And that is a system of Islam, which I've never heard anyone describe before. Imam says, you're not going to hear anyone describe it before me like this. And we're very lucky to have this explanation. Does that make sense to you guys? Any questions about this? Does anyone appreciate this from the Imam?
I appreciate it very much.
Alhamdulillah. Nice one, Fazil.
Yeah.
Good, Masma, as well. Amazing. Okay, so Islam is submission, and then if these words are a bit complicated, write it in your own words for your own notes. Is taking the easy option the same as doing the right thing? What do we think? Abdullah.
Not necessarily, but in some cases that is true. So, like the easy option, like either doing the salah or not doing the salah, just not doing it, but that's not the right thing. So it could be, and the easy option might be like I can do my homework, like I like study for my homework. I can do it like easier and quicker, and
Yeah.
it'll be easier for me. Or I just cram it all in one night before I have to hand it in. So then that means that it could be both.
Yeah, it could be both. It could be both. I guess what we know is that it's not necessarily always the same, but that's the point we're making. They're not always the same thing. Sometimes, like with namaz, it can be easy, sometimes it can be hard. That's a good place to start off. Khadija, where would you carry on with that point?
Again, I don't think that is always the right thing, because the easy option may be sitting back and not helping someone that needs your help.
Yeah.
But the hard option may be actually helping them. And in that scenario, you would have to do the hard option, since it is the right thing to do. But sometimes the easy option is right, because the hard option may be robbing a bank or something.
Yeah, robbing a bank. Nice example. Don't rob any banks, Khadija. This is not that's no consequence of the book club. I accept no liability for any banks that you rob. But I get the point. Sometimes Islam is so easy to follow. It's so easy. And Allah makes it easy to follow because He wants us to be close to Him. Other times that we have tests, and those tests aren't always the right thing. Like you mentioned, praying might always be easy, especially early in the morning. So good point there. Masmo, you gonna add anything to that?
Well, what I wanted to say is that taking the easy option, might not at all be the same as doing the right thing, because I mean, taking the easy option, I mean, instead of making food at home, you might just go and get a takeaway, and if you do that repeatedly, then it might lead to some health problems. And also, if you like think that, oh, do you know what, I'll just not do namaz, it's much easier, then that will not benefit you at all.
Yeah.
And these kind of things, that taking the easy option, like just doing something that will not benefit you later, then yeah. But sometimes it is the same, but I find it that taking the easy option is not usually the same as doing the right thing.
I know. Thank you for making that clear, because of the points we mentioned earlier. Thank you. Faz, any point that you'd like to add?
I don't think that the easy option is the same as doing the right thing, because it's like if you're in the war, it's like you just think that, okay, yeah, there's just a weak team, so a weaker army right there. So then you just do whatever you want to do, anything that's easy to do, and then what happens is that your army gets attacked instead of the enemy's army, because you're doing the more easier thing that maybe the other, if you're in a war, the other people would have experienced and understood more, so then they would have been able to resist such a shot. So that's why I think the easy option is not the same as doing the right thing.
Speaking of war, Fazil, what do you think this image is that's in front of us?
Then Hazrat Abbas get in the water for Imam Zain's camp.
Now, when he's looking down at the water and he's holding the water in his hands, what is the easy option and what is the right option?
The easy option is just drink it yourself and don't give it to the others. While the right thing is to go take the hardships and then to get it back.
Exactly. Now, there's an example where the easy option is so easy. He's thirsty. The water's right in front of him. It's cold and he's not drunk anything for 3 days. So easy just to have a sip of it. But the right thing for him is that he made a promise. The promise was that he will bring back water as soon as he can. And he thought to himself, how can I drink water when my brother hasn't, when my family haven't, when the ones who I promised to bring water are thirsty now? Yeah, enough. He says, "Oh, myself, bin Ba'd Hussein, how can you live if you've not given water to Abu Abdullah first?" So he chooses the right option. And the reason why he chooses is because he has been raised by a father whose words we are reading, who taught him well about types of action. Imam Ali Islam says there's a difference between these actions. If you do an action which pleasure passes away, but its ill consequences remain, or if you do an action and the hardship goes away, but the reward stays. Now, let me explain. Sometimes you do something which is easy, which is like it's easy, and it had lots of pleasure. You got whatever you wanted as soon as you did it. You were thirsty, you drank. You wanted food, you ate. You wanted a pleasure, you got the pleasure. Imam says there's some actions where those pleasures pass away. They're gone really quickly. Then when you eat, you're full. That pleasure's gone. But the ill consequence, the bad habit, for example, Masma mentioned, if you have too much food that's bad for you, the effect it has on your body. Or if you do something which is wrong, which is a sin, that consequence remains, even if the pleasure you wanted comes and goes just like that. But then there are some actions which were hard for you. They were not easy, but they were the right thing to do. So for those actions, it was hard, but then that hardship, it passed away. It went away. You forgot how hard it was. You moved on with your life. But the thing which remained was the reward. For example, you're doing a really hard exam or a test. It was hard for you, right? Now, once it's done, you're celebrating, you're enjoying. You might even forget how hard it was. Sometimes you keep in mind how difficult a test was. Sometimes you move on. But when you get that good grade remains forever. It's there for you. It's there for you. And if you're retaking an exam of some sort and you want to change that good grade, if you put that hard work in, inshallah, once you change that grade changes. But the hard work you put in passes and it moves, and you move on to something else, and now you're enjoying, you're on the beach, you're with your friends. And all those hard hours you did will become in the past. The thing which remains is the reward. Good deeds are like this. Fasting is not always easy. Praying early is not always easy. Doing the right thing all the time is not always easy. But the difficulty before those actions will pass away and you move on. But the reward you get, the way that you grew and the way Allah rewards you, these things remain. So when you're coming across an option and you're choosing between the easy option, and if it's not always the right thing, you choose the right thing. And you learn from Fadl Abbas what that looks like. Yeah. Who here is going to try to do the right thing even if it's not easy? Who's going to try and do that?
Me.
Fazil is. Who else?
Me too.
You too? It's Khadija. Anyone else? Oh, I'm sorry. Who else is going to try hard to do the right thing even if it's not easy?
Me.
Abdullah. Good. Very good. Inshallah. And the rest of you, it's hard, but I wish you all the best in this journey. Just like I hope you pray for me, inshallah. Why shouldn't we be proud people? Look at this guy in this picture. He's so proud of himself. He thinks he's so great, and he's got this image of himself as being some sort of king. But why is that wrong?
So he's got a shadow of himself, but he's all like a king. He's got a crown. He's got some kind of, I don't know, back.
So he thinks he's a hero. But what's the problem with this, Fazil? Why should we not be so proud?
I don't really have an explanation. That's what I'm thinking
That's
about.
fine. You think about it, and that's okay. And I'll come back to you later. Khadija, have you got a thought about why it's a problem to be too proud?
Yes, so I think that we shouldn't be too proud because it makes you lose your humility to Allah. It makes you think too much of yourself. And people like us, we would think highly of others and maybe not so much to ourselves. But this person obviously doesn't do that. They think that they are king, as it shows the crown, and that's not good because it shows that you're very full of yourself.
And if you lose that humility, you lose something really valuable. To be humble in the eyes of God, like, was it even worth it to lose that feeling for something that you wanted people to think about you? And I don't think it is worth it. Masma, what do you think?
It is good to be proud in some senses, but you shouldn't let it, like, go absolutely crazy. For example, if you win an award, then it's nice to feel happy about it and happy about yourself. But
Yeah.
you shouldn't go around saying that, oh my God, I won this award. Oh my goodness, I'm so much better than you. Because then you build up arrogance.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you're like a really nice person, then like you might feel a bit too proud about something, and then it might just crush some things down, like in your life or something.
I'm so happy someone made this point, because sometimes you should be proud of something you have done which was not easy, which was the right thing to do. You should acknowledge and recognize that you've done a good thing, because that will encourage you to do more good things. And if you see someone else doing a good thing, it's really good to recognize that, to encourage them to do good. Amal bil ma'ruf, for example, to encourage and enjoin people to do goodness. Mentioning a previous good they've done is a really good way of doing this. But there's a balance here. We can't do it so much that we think that we become proud people. I can be proud of myself at this moment. I can be proud of this action I have done. But to believe that these actions and become proud as my personality is a problem. To be a proud person who really likes when people praise them, or really likes when people think they've done great things. Many good deeds we do should be in secret. So we shouldn't seek that from people. But like Masma really wisely said, it does have a value to it. But we shouldn't become proud people like that's who we are. That's taking it a bit too far. Abdullah, do you agree? How would you summarize your answer to this question?
So like Nasuma has made a point. So when you we beat someone who's like the best in your local community, or like, then you say, but yeah, I'm better than all of these people, and you keep like thinking that, and then you get so thought of that, then as soon as one person beats you in with the arrogance and the humility you've lost, then people contest that person, like, how did you beat me? Like, I'm the best in the world. How?
I know. Yeah, like that's an example where we shouldn't be like that. It's a good reminder to have, actually. Imam Ali Islam says, I wonder at the proud man, or you can say woman as well, like to apply yourself if you're a female, who was just a drop of liquid the other day and will turn into a corpse tomorrow. Meaning, how could you be proud if what you came from was liquid, as all human beings come from liquids, and all you're going to become is a corpse one day. Like that's you. And somewhere in between, when you had no control over when you came into existence and when you leave this life, a person becomes proud. Mom thinks, I wonder at that person. I mean, look at what you came from. In Dua Arafah, we're going to read it, inshallah, tomorrow when you have a chance. Imam says that what we came from were liquid cells. That's it. And what we become will one day become a corpse like every other corpse lying in the graveyard. So where do we get our pride from? Now, what this means, by the way, is when you live your life, like I said, you do a good deed, you get that reward. You do work hard, you recognize it. But what you don't do is allow yourself to become someone who is proud of themselves as their first priority, myself, me, because then you've forgotten where you came from and where you're going. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Cool. If not, anyone can add any questions. Fazil, was there anything you were going to add before, or I can move on?
Yes, I wanted to add something before question.
To this one here?
Yes.
What would you like to add?
So what I wanted to say was that it's like as if the like in that picture is showing that he was so proud of himself, that he thought that he was going to become a king one day. But what if you are a king already, but you are a bad ruler? It's about the afterlife is also there. The reward that you will get is way better than being a king for a long time. The reward is way better than that. So like in the afterlife, when you're resurrected, what if you don't get that reward? You will go into hell. So basically, all that king, being old king, bad ruler, and all of that basically just goes to waste. When you're resurrected, you're in the afterlife, and then you go to hell.
Yeah, well, we believe in a God who is just, right? And the Quran mentions that for every good deed we do, you will see it. You're going to see it somehow. Just like every bad deed that you do, you will see it. And Allah, remember, has not got a physical mind like me and you who might forget. He remembers everything and he knows every deed we've done. So if a person truly has done a good deed, even if they're non-Muslim and they're not really believing in Allah, but they've just done a good deed, there has to be some consequence for those deeds always, because our Lord is just. It's really important we believe that. And now if, like, I don't know if I'm going to heaven, I don't know if I'm going to hell. Allah knows what was in my heart. He knows what level I have reached. But what I know is how hard I tried. And we believe also alongside justice, Allah is merciful. Where even if you fell short of something, but you had good intentions or you prayed to Allah for help, He can help bring you over. And just like we mentioned, for example, Hajj, we're told you're not allowed to believe you leave Hajj with a sin left. Allah forgives them. And the greatest sin anyone can do in our hadith, in our narrations, is to believe or to not believe in the mercy of God, that Allah is not merciful. That's the biggest sin you can do, is to deny that Allah has mercy. Allah doesn't want you to think that at all, which means that if you are thinking about the afterlife and akhirah, you believe in His mercy, you have faith in it, you try really hard to be good in this world, but you use that as your motivation that if Allah can help me for akhirah, inshallah He will, I believe in His mercy. And that's a really helpful thing. Another really good reminder, in fact, actually, is the next and the final one, which is about when people die and how we behave in a funeral. It's a good reminder for us. For example, here's a question. Why shouldn't you laugh at a funeral? Master, were you going to add something?
I was just gonna answer the question, why shouldn't he laugh at a funeral?
Why shouldn't you?
Well, because I mean, somebody just lost somebody, and there you are, literally just laughing head off about it. I mean, say if you lost somebody very, very near to you, and like you're never gonna see them again until you die. Then I mean, it's just a very horrible thing to do. Like I mean, it's just very, like, you just shouldn't do it at all. It's just absolutely, in a way, it's disgusting. The fact that you would just, I mean,
Yeah.
like just express pleasure at the fact that somebody has lost someone else.
I agree. Khadija?
I agree with Masuma about the fact that it's very, very disrespectful. If I knew right now that when I passed away, someone would be laughing at my funeral, I would not be happy at all. I would be quite upset, really, because it means that they don't really care about my passing away, and it is a very, well, I wouldn't say harmful, but very big sin, I would say, in my opinion, because if you laughed at someone when they were alive, that would still be a sin, because, well, not necessarily a sin, but still be very bad. But if you're laughing at them when they passed away, that's like 10 times worse.
It's a very powerful point, definitely. Fazil, you want to add something?
Why shouldn't you laugh at a person at a funeral? It's because it's like the soul is going to be returning to Allah, and it's like you're laughing that what is Allah going to do with him? Oh, it's not whatever you are laughing about at him. It's like you're laughing at the person when he's returning to Allah. You're laughing that he's going to return to Allah. That's like when you're laughing when it's at a funeral.
Yeah.
That's what I think. You should not laugh.
Like it's a special moment. It's a very important moment. It's not a time for laughing.
It's a time for sadness.
Yeah. Abdullah, you want to add something before you conclude?
Yeah, as Fadil just said, that if you're laughing and someone's soul is going back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're gonna go through that experience too.
Mm-hmm.
You're also doing a really big sin, laughing at someone's funeral, and someone has lost somebody that they really, really, really like, but they're their relative.
Yeah.
So that means that you'll never see them again until they die. So you're committing a really bad sin that makes them feel uncomfortable and even sadder when it's already a really tough experience for them. And now that you're laughing that a soul is carrying back to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you're going to go through that experience too, and then you're just going to turn into a hypocrite. Then you're going to get more arrogant and just feel proud of yourself.
Yeah, it's very similar to the points made earlier by our dear sisters. That if it's someone else, you know what they're going through is that emotion is so powerful. You don't want to make fun of that, but like you mentioned, if it was yourself, right? You'd not be thinking like that. You'd not be thinking that, oh, something's funny. You know, you'd not want anyone else, like Khadija mentioned, to experience joy in that moment. This actually happened with the Imam. So he walked by and someone was actually laughing at a funeral. And the Imam gave some advice, which I think is relevant to all of us, not just for laughing in funerals, but in general about our lives. He says, is death only for others? Is this right only obligatory on others that they're going to die one day? Do you think that those whom we see departing on their journey of death are not going to come back to us? Meaning there's not going to be an afterlife at some point? The answer is no. So what he then added was, we lay them down in their graves and then enjoy their estate after them. For example, if they live by a house, we live in their houses. They live by money, we spend their money, wherever it is. And that means we ignored every preacher, every man, or woman, and have exposed ourselves to every catastrophe. Meaning this reminder, we keep getting told that there's going to be a life after you. The moment we laugh, we're ignoring all of that. We've forgotten all of those things. We think that we're just laying them down. I'm not going to die. It's not going to happen to me. I'm going to enjoy what's left of my life. I'm going to enjoy what they left behind and just keep living. Imam says, no, you've ignored everyone. The truth is that, like he mentioned, don't think that they're not going to come back to us. They are. At some point, we're all going to return together and face our judgment together. So remember that. Remember that. And that's that. If you remember that, I think a person will not laugh. They'll be thinking. They won't even just be sad. We're sad if someone who we love passes away. If you go to a funeral where it's not someone who you love, now you might feel sad for your friends or family or someone else who's mourning. But if you don't know them, just think for a second. Or if you're just going past graves, you don't know who's buried there, think for a second. They have gone ahead somewhere where you are going to follow. And they don't have any time left after them, but you do. And how you and I spend this time we have left, it means everything. And it can determine everything about our state in Akhirah. Every day we have can be a day of hope for us if we use it in the right way, inshallah. Okay, that's the last saying. Anyone want to have any questions about any of the sayings or this one or anything like that? If not, more next week. If you have a question, you can unmute and just ask it. I have no problem. Was there a question from anyone?
Well, one of the sayings said, have exposed ourselves to every catastrophe. What does it mean by that?
Which saying? This was the last saying.
Yep.
Let me go back to a second. If you live a life where you don't believe in an akhirah, then this life can be a catastrophe for you. Meaning that you do different things which are actually causing you harm to yourself and you don't even know about it. Imam says you've exposed yourself to every catastrophe. So it means that if I don't believe in an akhirah, I don't need to think about God, or I don't need to think about what's going to happen after me. And if I don't think about that thought, the Imam says, and for example, I'm laughing at a funeral, I could be doing many other things which are actually causing detriment to ourselves by not praying because you don't believe there's going to be an afterlife, by not being kind or not smiling. You are making yourself hard-hearted, right? By not stopping bad deeds, you're allowing yourselves to become and allowing your flesh to become used to evil deeds. All these things are actually harming ourselves. We've exposed ourselves to these things. If you guys think about it, sin, right? Okay, at some point, you know, there's angels who are counting your good deeds and your bad deeds, and on some day you'll see what's more and what's less. But before all of that, these things affect who we are. They affect our bodies, they affect our minds, our personalities. If we do good deeds, we become good people. If we do bad deeds, we become bad people and harsh people and mean people and people with hard hearts. And Imam doesn't want that. He thinks it's a catastrophe for you to forget that you have a Lord to go back to, because thinking that you have a Lord to go back to keeps your actions in check. It keeps your amal in check, where you're able to only do things which are causing benefit to yourself and not harm to yourself. When it comes to religion, to you, Muslim, to everyone, always judge actions by yourself. is this action going to make me closer to Allah? Is it going to help me? Is it what Allah wants from me? That's a very good way to think about things. Or is this going to take me away from God? Is this going to cause me pain? Am I going to have to do istighfar for this thing? It's not worth it. I'm not going to do it. So judge these things by yourself, and then you'll see that actions can either be, according to this narration, a help for you or a catastrophe to yourself. Masma, does that make a bit of sense?
Yes, thank you.
No problem, inshallah. Anyone else got any other questions before we end the book club?
I just want to say one more thing. It's not a question, but I just want to say one more thing.
Go ahead,
Thank you for
Fazil.
the book club. Thank you for the good book club. It's great.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Fazil. Alhamdulillah. I appreciate you.
I learned so many things from the Imam that I don't even know.
Alhamdulillah. I learn more from when I bring things to you guys to hear how you interact with the sayings. I really do. So by saying thank you, I thank that right back. I take your thank you, and like tennis, I hit it back towards you in a reverse, backhand.
Thank you.
You said it back to me. Oh no. Oh goodness. Maybe you won the point. I don't know. But thank you really to everyone. Next week, guys, this is really interesting for all of you. We have this hadith from the Holy Prophet saying that I'm leaving behind for you two weighty things, the Quran and the Ahlul Bayt. I want to know what happens when you split them up. So the Prophet says very clearly, when I die, I'm leaving behind you two things. These things are going to stay together until the last moment. They're going to come together. They're going to meet me in the pool of Kawthar in Akhirah. Quran, the book of God, and my Ahlul Bayt, my family of God. These things are going to be together, and they deserve to be together. They should be together with you forever. My question is, what happens when you split them? What happens when you take away Ahlul Bayt and you only follow Quran? Or you take away Quran and only follow Ahlul Bayt? What happens when you only prioritize one over the other? And if they're not together, what happens to the harmony or balance of your faith? So that's the question of all of you. And I'll go to the Imam about how he speaks about this topic of Quran and the Sunnah. But the question for all of you is, what happens when you split up Quran and Ahlul Bayt? Does the question make sense to all of you? Any questions about that? In that case, goodbye. Take care. I'll see you inshallah in next week's Nahjal Balagha book club of the 9th of the 10th sessions. Okay, bye-bye everyone. Khuda Hafiz.
Jazakallah khair.
Thank you.
Thanks so much. Bye guys.
بولايتك يا علي يا علي يا علي